Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. It's Ashley Bernardi here, CEO of Nardi Media. And I've just been loving these LinkedIn Lives, connecting with thought leaders across the board. And our guest today, I am so excited to talk about. We're going to be talking about data and research as it relates to your PR campaigns for whether it's your organization or your PR firm. We are joined with my brilliant friend, David Ocamb. He is CEO of Ocamb Group, and he is here today to talk all about pitching the press with precision using the data hook advantage. So David, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, before we dive in, tell our audience, listeners, viewers, I know about you, but tell our audience a little bit about you and what makes you the brilliant master of data and research and what you do in your work.
I don't know about brilliant, but I think a lot of hard-earned lessons in life have come about. Started in politics, got burnt out in politics as one does, and then went into the public affairs world where I think I actually didn't work directly with you, but worked on some campaigns during the Energy Future Holdings thing back in that would have been, I don't want to give the age, but that was some time ago. Moved over to agency land, moved my way up, and the last couple of agencies I was with led the research planning and strategy departments. And so for an ad agency, that is where we go in, we do the primary market research on consumer sentiment, either quantitative or qualitative. That means either polling or focus groups, and then a bunch of other methodologies too. And then coming up with the emotional trigger for the ad, and then brief the creative team on how to carry that out, test the creative, and put it into market. And what's interesting is, like, for the last agency I was with, they were PR first, not ad first. And so trying to figure out a way to come up with something, a new product, I guess, that would actually tie into the PR world. And so came up with what we're going to discuss today. 2 or 3 years ago, went off on my own and decided, if I'm doing this for other agencies, why not do it for myself? And so I've become the Ocamb Group.
I love it. Okay, so I'm so excited. I'm going to say nerd out on this because I was a journalist. We know journalists love data. You know this. This is why you do. Tell us why journalists crave data hooks. Like, I have my own thoughts about it, but I want to hear it from you.
Well, first off, it's timely. It's something that this study just came out. This is new survey shows. It has a timely hook. And so it's not an evergreen thing that you can put off and put off and put off. It's something where you can say this just came out. Secondly, it's really clickable, like it's clickbait. It's 41% of people say this. It's so easy, it's digestible, it's fast. It's something that is quantifiable, quote unquote, in that it actually gives credibility to it. It sounds scientific, and it's all the things. I mean, it is something that we found over and over and over again journalists want and journalists really yearn for.
Give our audience an example of like what that looks like. And I'll give you my example. I'd love to hear some you have. But many moons ago, when I worked at a PR firm, there was an organization that would compile their own data. They would actually hire an outside firm on to put together data for, let's say, for Valentine's Day, for like, what do consumers most want for Valentine's Day? And it's like 14% of women said they want flowers, 15%. But that's news nuggets, news that we can use for, like, let's say, Valentine's Day shopping. So, like, you paint that picture for us. What are some other examples that how you've seen organizations use data to help drive press placements?
Well, this is actually exactly why this product came out, right? And so we were waiting for data hooks to come in to be able to toss into press releases, toss into media pitches, right? And why wait?
Yeah.
Why put out what someone else is doing? Why not actually control the narrative, control the timing, be able to test 4 or 5 different theories of what your data or what your hook is going to be, put all of them in the survey instrument, see what's most compelling, be able to lead with the most compelling. And then from there, it kind of spiraled out with a lot of other really cool things like segmentation. You could say Californians do this versus Texans do that.
Right.
Or men and women, or Gen Z versus millennial. There are so many different ways that you can tie in the segmentation thing. And
I
so
love
it's just been incredibly powerful to be able to go into market with the research you want, written the way you want it, and be able to pitch out to the media something that is timely, something that's getting the story out when you need the story out, and not just wait for someone else, as you mentioned, the subscription-based research services that do the omnibus surveys that sell out
right.
to the people. We can give you an entire 38 question survey instrument testing multiple different theories with multiple different segmentation solutions that actually matter to you.
I love it. And also, one other thing you say is that, like, data, your own proprietary data and research, it helps you control the narrative. Let's
Oh,
talk a little
absolutely.
bit about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're going in with whatever the subscription based research survey comes up with, you don't get to word the question. So, you don't get to, and wording of questions can significantly influence the results that you get on those questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you're able to word it in a way that is proper, a way that is going to help get you the narrative that you're wanting to frame going forward. And you are able to test multiple different theories. So you may have 5 different potential hooks that you're wanting to go in with, right? And you
Yeah.
may see which one is the most compelling, which one's the most interesting, which number sounds the best, right?
Yep. 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 It's like, using the like 1 in 4, or, a majority of
Yep,
Americans
yep,
feel
yep.
this, right? And I love that. Also, talk to me about how you're able to, what you say, test the taboo with the right brand.
Oh, yeah. So
And
I
another
didn't.
example of that too.
Yeah, I've got a perfect example. I did not do this, so I
Okay.
can't claim that I own this idea. But Virgin Airlines, they've done some amazing marketing. They've done some
Oh yeah.
amazing PR campaigns. I think Richard Branson is brilliant, right?
I love Richard Branson.
I
Yep.
don't know if they actually commissioned this survey or if they just latched on when these results came out. My guess is probably the latter and not the former, of people wanting to, or not percent of the population that is a member of the Mile High Club. And so they latched on to that. And with a name like Virgin, it just, in terms of their brand being edgy, kind of sexy, kind of, you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
were able to make massive hay out of that because
Oh, good.
journalists are desperate for stuff that is going to get clicks, and that is going to get clicks. And so if your brand is, I mean, certainly if you're an old stodgy brand, like if you're Goldman Sachs, you're not going to do the sexy taboo, right?
No.
But if you're American Eagle, and we all saw the brilliant campaign that they've just launched, right? They can lean into some really fun things. And if they were to do a survey today and go out in the field, they could have some very fun findings for their new jeans campaign.
I hadn't seen their jeans. Oh, hold on. I think we're back.
We're back.
We're back. Okay. So talk to me a little bit more about that American Eagle campaign, because I'm for folks that haven't seen it or might not know what it is.
Yeah, it just launched. I encourage everyone to look at it because I really think it is hearkening into something that Gen Z is really, really desperate for, really wants. It is a generational shift from what we've seen over the past 10 years, 15 years in terms of marketing. And it is very much leaning into the old kind of Carl's Jr., if you remember back in the day, kind of
Oh yeah.
massive sex appeal, like in a spot, right? It is Sydney Sweeney, and it is all about sex appeal with Sydney Sweeney. And that is the entire point of the ad. That is the entire point of the campaign. They are leaning hard in that direction. They are rebranding themselves completely around that. And I think it's going to be highly successful. I think that they're really reaching back to kind of, if you remember back when we were growing up, Abercrombie and Fitch and Abercrombie campaigns.
Yeah.
Yes, they owned that space. They were in that space.
Yeah.
And American Eagle now wants that place. And they found, I would argue, the most significant influencer of that generation. Sydney Sweeney, I think, really is the premier actress in Gen Z, right? She is someone who is just, she will move the needle. She will move brands. She is someone, if you can get on your team, you are going to see a spike, right?
Yep.
And so if you were that brand, you were launching that campaign, you were going forward with a PR strategy, your PR strategy shouldn't be boring. And I think you're like, data hook, that's boring. Like, why are you seeing data? But there are so many questions you could ask people and come up with really edgy, as I said, taboo kind of questions, right? That would get the media salivating. The media would publish it all. I mean, you would get so many clicks off of so many of the potential headlines you could write off of that. It's I think it's extremely compelling, and you can't do that because no omnibus survey or whatever is going to have those type of questions tied to your brand or whatever. You can create the narrative you want with the frame you want.
I love that. And, I do agree with you about the American Eagle campaign, because I asked my oldest daughter the other day, oh, where do you want to go back to school shopping? And guess what she said? American
Eagle.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so we work with nonprofits and other organizations that have to play it safe. Like, there's not going to be a Virgin, Mile High, or City Swimming. So for the organizations, companies that are like, I like the idea of using data, but I can't be bold, edgy, sexy. I need to play it safe with who I want to reach. What is your recommendation to them, and like what they should be considering?
I literally just got an email today. I'm not going to name the client, but it is a nonprofit client for a large national nonprofit organization, right? I did a study for them, I want to say in January or February, so a little bit ago, right? And they got a lot of press coverage off of that study. They were able to go with their list of members compared to the general public and be able to get some really interesting, really stark findings between those two categories, as well as misconceptions the general public has. But what I found super interesting, my contact at the agency over there sent me a story that aired yesterday. And in the story, they're still using the polling instrument, but they're now using it as a message point. It has become part of their boilerplate that they're doing for all of their interviews because it is such a compelling stat.
Wow.
And so that, I think, for a nonprofit organization specifically, right, is super interesting that you get the initial press hook, right?
Yeah.
But then later on, if you find those compelling nuggets, right, you can build it into your entire talking points.
Your brand messaging and talking points.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Does that happen often? I can see it happening often.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. And I would also argue that you can be quite intentional with the way you phrase things and the questions you ask. And if you are super smart about it, you're going to know in advance, hey, this could be a potential talking point if it bears out and the numbers come back to where we want it to come back in.
How can you also use this data? I mean, I guess maybe like beyond press, but and I think this is where we can talk a little bit about segment smarter, like how audience level insights reveal how different groups view the same issue, or maybe how you can use this data to learn more about the people you serve within your agency, company, nonprofit. Can this data and how go beyond the press? And
absolutely it can. And so when we're talking about like large national brands I've worked for, we've worked typically with the communications department, right? And so, but for smaller organizations that still can afford to do maybe like say 1, 2, 3 of these a year, and these are quite affordable, right? To do the press hooks, but then they can also toss in questions for brand recognition to like measure over time if their brand is increasing or decreasing favorability, or like to test the effectiveness of the campaigns they're going in. And they can even test in some messaging kind of things or some just general like policies that people may want to see them move forward with.
Yeah.
You can actually do a lot of work in these instruments. It's not a brand study. I do those too. So I want to be clear that this is not that, but we can sprinkle in some things that give you, it could definitely be a tracking survey over time.
Yeah, I think it can help inform, the needs of potential clients or donors and what they look for. So I think it's really, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, interesting you bring up the donor part, because I actually, for a different nonprofit client, did a survey that was not geared at all towards media hooks. It was geared towards creating things for measuring their donors, what they want, what they don't want, yada, 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 as well as some potential talking points for donors. So, and so we were able to test in that, and they were able to put that into their, their donor strategy.
Wow. Okay. So it's not just press, even though like I can say, having leaned into research, and PR, but also on the other end of it as a journalist, I want those new numbers, because we're news journalists, right? We want whatever is current event, newsy. Give me something new, new study, new data. Like, and even sometimes in my pitches, I'll use new study, new data, right? We love this type of information. And you're kind of that vehicle to help these organizations, companies disseminate what could work well, not just for the press, but for the organization as a whole. So talk to me about like how it can really double the value, and a little bit about how does your research approach work, and how is it different from, others out there?
Well, yeah, and actually why I founded the Ocamb group, why I broke away was I saw a opening in the marketplace
Mm,
where so often market research falls under the advertising agency, which reports up to the VP of marketing, which reports up maybe to a chief brand. And so you are so far removed from the decisions that are happening in the C-suite that research gets ignored, that no
yeah,
one's really paying attention, that if anything gets brought up, it is one PowerPoint slide in a deck that's up to the C-suite, right? And all of the other departments of the organization are not using data, market research data, consumer insights type data. Those other parts of the organization are just relying upon whatever they're relying upon. And so
right.
there is a gap, I think, when you talk about like you have outside counsel for attorneys that report up to the C-suite. You have management consultants like McKinsey reporting up. No one is talking about the actual consumer insights, market research, right? And I think that is what role I wanted to provide in the marketplace. That's why I broke apart. That's kind of my vision for the Ocamb group as an organization. And so working with these clients when we're doing these kind of PR studies, that's one part of it, but it's also a lot of smaller organizations. You get to have FaceTime with the CEO, with the COO, with the CDO, with
Mhm.
all of these other positions and get their perspective and their insights. And with some organizations, I've been lucky enough to be able to do full strategic guidance sessions, right? And strategic planning sessions. And so I've met these people, I've interacted with these people, I have experience, you know what I mean? So it becomes a true consulting relationship and not just a vendor type relationship.
I love that. The other question I'm thinking of that I can see folks asking themselves is, okay, but what's the timeline? Like let's say we do want to leverage some new data for a PR campaign. From like when should someone be reaching out to you? And what's the timeline for that?
Well, reach out as early as possible, and I think
Right.
that's obviously the initial like advice is always having a seat at the table as early as possible is valuable. With that being said, I did come up in politics, and so my approach to research is far more aggressive than most people's. In general, I don't want to overpromise, but I would say that if you came to me today, we could have an initial planning session where we go through what a polling instrument could look like. Within a week, I could have a first draft of that polling instrument. Assuming
Wow.
the process is quick, I could code it and be in the field that next week. So that's 2 weeks out. And then a week for initial analysis. But within that week, I could probably get you some if you had a desperate need to get some news headlines out within that week, get you something. But your worst case scenario is going to be 4 weeks out that I'll have a full deck, full product for you.
That's amazing because in my head I was thinking like months long work, but you're
Oh,
like, no, we can do this in 4 weeks if we really need to.
yeah. And I mean, I'm probably even underselling myself because I'm thinking back to some of the political campaigns I worked on very early in my career, and there was no time for 4 weeks. And so
Yeah, it's like
we,
yesterday.
we get it done quick. And that is one thing that I value. And that's one thing I absolutely think is vitally important is being able to produce at a very fast pace and a very economical cost. That's the other part, because I think too many research agencies are overbloated. And so many people I talk to are like, I can't afford a poll. That's going to be $100,000.
Yeah, that's
And
what I think in my head.
yeah, because traditionally, historically, they have cost that much, but you can do an order of magnitude less and still get a quality product. Again, it's not a formative brand study. It's not a segmentation study. I can do those. I absolutely have the capability of doing those, but those do cost $100,000.
Right.
Like $10,000, you can go in the field with a quick, easy poll like this and be able to come out of it with a product that will provide value beyond just the PR appeal, but also will give you the earned valuation that would more than justify the cost of that polling instrument.
And then what I also love about it is that it's proprietary. It's
Oh,
not anyone else can it's own it. It's yours. Like if Nardi Media
yes,
did, it'd be like Nardi Media's new survey found
yes.
XYZ, right? And I think that's the really cool thing from a press perspective. If anyone out there within organizations is thinking of doing this. Now, David, just so I'm clear, because you mentioned you work with the comms teams at companies that hire you to do this. Are those the right people to reach out to you, or is
We, a lot of agency partners actually I work with. So PR agencies, advertising
there?
marketing agencies, absolutely. Agency partners are a key to get in. But then also on the inside, sometimes I'm working with executive directors for smaller
Yeah, for
nonprofits.
sure.
And so it's not just your head of comms, but your head of comms would be someone, maybe chief development officer could be someone, especially if they have brand as well. I mean, it's pretty much anyone who could see a use for it is someone I would like to have a conversation with, because it really, yeah.
I love it. Okay, great. So we've gotten some great insights and value into how data and research can leverage press placements and beyond. So, David, for anyone that wants to work with you or just learn more about what you do and what you offer, where do you want to direct everyone?
Yeah, well, you can go to ocambgroup.com, my website, and you can click contact us, and then you can send an email through there. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Since we're on LinkedIn already, I'd be happy to talk with you on LinkedIn as well. Beyond that, yeah, I think emailing at david.ocamb@ocambgroup.com is another way to get in touch.
Awesome. Okay, great. So lots of ways to get in touch. For those that have watched and will be watching later, would love to hear from you in the comments. When have you used data in your organization to help leverage press placements or beyond? Or I'd love to hear also, are you thinking about it? And of course, if you have any questions for David, you can drop them here. We'll flag them to you, David. So this will live live on LinkedIn, on our YouTube. We're going to be promoting it in the Nardi Media newsletter. So awesome spending this time with you today. And we're going to have to do it again.
Yes.
And because I could talk about data and research and its advantages in the press all day, every day. I even, in my speaking engagements, I talk about how important data is. So knowing that you are out there and exist in this world, it's like step one before you even go to press sometimes, especially if you want something new and edgier to say. So thank you, David. Thank you to everyone who has watched, who will be watching. We'd always love to hear from you. Check out David's website. And if you're ready for PR, visit nardimedia.com, and we would love to hear from you. All right, David, thank you for everything. It was great to see you today.
Fun.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.